では、お時間になったので始めさせていただきます。皆様、こんにちは。今日はですね、ホテレスタロウェビナーということで、我々、私、太田パブリケーションズの岩本と申します。今日はよろしくお願いいたします。私どもはですね、週刊ホテルレストラン、ホテレスというものは基幹ビジネスに、ホテル業界を中心に、旅行業界に関わる皆様に、幅広くお役立ちをしたいなということで、日々さまざまな、取り組みをしているわけなんですが、弊社の中にですね、TAROというチームがございます。TAROというのはですね、旅行市場、特に国際的な旅行市場に関わるチームでして、B2B を中心に B2C といった事業領域も今後手掛けていこうという中で、これから旅行市場がですね、動き出すであろうというのが、期待値としてあります。実際もすでにヨーロッパやアジアの一部の国ではですね、もう PCR テストもなしにですね、入国できるみたいな状態も始まっていて、日本はまだそういうことができないんですけれども、じゃあ逆に、海外の先の事例を学んでおけば、今後の日本の我々にとっても役立つのではないかということで、今、海外がどんな動きをしているかということをですね、これからしばらくは2週間に1回ぐらいの頻度で、およそ2週間、2週間ごとの水曜日のこの16時からのお時間をですね、使って、さまざまなプレゼンターの方をご招待して、開催をしていきたいなと考えております。今日はそのタロチームのですね、COO のナナさんがですね、これから引き継いでいただいて進めていただきます。ナナさん、よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。一瞬、岩本さん、すいません。画面で皆さんの顔が見えるようにしていただけますか？
これはウェビナー形式はできないです。はい。
わかりました。失礼いたしました。では、私、今ご紹介にあかりました、太郎の金の七重と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。ごめんなさい。太郎の方はいろいろメディア、このような形で、メディアとコミュニケーション、マーケティング、PR などもさせていただいてますので、この横のつながりを、いろんな方たちをこれからご紹介していきたいと思います。で、私、そういう形から、太郎の COO も務めさせていただいているんですけれども、その他にチーフエディターを務めさせていただいております。で、本日、うちの、太郎のもう一人、浜本の方もご紹介させていただきます。浜本さん、いかがですか？
こんにちは。すみません。先ほどちょっと最初のイントロのところでちょっと雑談してしまいましたけども、私太郎事業部のですね、CTO、テクニカル関係、主にやっております。でトラベル関係、そして、あとメディアに関しては一緒に、企業と一緒にですね、記事等の取材とか、そういったところもサポートしております。よろしくお願いいたします。
Okay, and Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself a bit?
Can you hear me okay? Yeah. 皆様、こんにちは。本日はお時間をいただき、誠にありがとうございます。私はKATANAのダイレクターのアンドリュー・サッカーです。私は香港で生まれました。そして日本と英国に地を引くことを誇りに思っています。私は少年時代に神戸と東京に住んでいましたが、幼い頃から英国の寄宿学校で教育を受け、その後30年間日本語は話さずにロンドンを拠点に過ごしました。その間、家族はアジアに住んでいました。父は火星航空で働いていました。残念ながら私の日本語はこのプレゼンテーションを提供するのに十分ではないことです。私の目的は日本の文化と母国語を学び、子どもたちが彼らの遺産を受け継ぐことと日本でもっと多くの時間を過ごすことです。それまでは英語で続けていくことをご了承ください。Thank you for indulging me. Let me please briefly introduce ourselves. We are an independent creative agency and a brand consultancy working in London, Beijing, and Tokyo. Personally, I have been working as a creative brand strategist for about 20 years now. Starting KATANA London in 2004, followed by KATANA Beijing in 2009. In 2019, our focus turned to Japan, and after a good start, we, like everyone else in the world, was derailed by COVID. So we're an independent creative agency. We specialize in high-end hospitality and lifestyle brands, and we work with owners to create and launch new brands. We develop existing brands, such as expanding to new markets like China, or creating new product lines to better serve our brand customers. And as you can see, a lot of our work is around F&B and hospitality. Our first client, in fact, was Forte Collection many years ago. We have teams based in London since 2004, in Beijing, and partners in Tokyo. And we've been lucky enough to work with some of the best brands in the industry in various capacities, from branding and communications to digital and social media, advertising, experience and strategy. And if you want to see more of our work, you can just scan the QR code and that will take you to our website. Our services include advertising, branding, which is creating new brands and growing existing brands, creating and executing campaigns, creating content, both copy and visual, from photography to film, designing and developing digital media platforms, creating brand experiences and innovative ideas for brands to try and stay ahead of the curve. We've also developed partnerships for brands for their mutual benefit, and we manage social media channels from content to customers on behalf of our clients. And this is all underpinned by a strong strategic offer, which informs our work. So we're small and independent, but we are able to provide a full service to our clients. But anyway, enough about us. So some clever person said, travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer. It's uncredited, but quite true, I think. So let's see what's happening in the luxury travel sector today. So here's a popular question. Has the global pandemic changed the way we travel forever? Well, perhaps it has. Or perhaps it just accelerated us along a trajectory, a path that we were already traveling. We don't know for certain, and time will tell. So what do we know? We know a global industry worth 6.9 trillion pounds, that's I guess $8 million, $9 trillion, and employing 334 million people simply stopped. And when people stopped moving for extended periods, they were forced to take a long look at themselves, the world, and confront the very nature of their lives, whether they wanted to or not. And this inevitably led to some profound realizations individually and in certain segments of society collectively. People question what they really want out of life and what they want their lives to look like when life starts again. So today we'll examine these behavioral drivers in a little bit more detail and why these matter, and how they are reflected in the needs of luxury travelers in 2022 in various parts of the world, such as Europe, US, Middle East, China, and the Asia-Pacific region, and how Japan is naturally well positioned to enjoy the rebound in travel, and some of the things that it can do to build on this for greater success. So let's look at 5 key trends shaping luxury travel in 2022 and further beyond in the years ahead, driven by changes in consumer behavior and what travelers are thinking about during the decision-making process. Just as a side note, what we do anyway as part of our process and service for our clients is our analysts keep a close eye on all media outlets and thought leaders within the industry, and we're constantly compiling up-to-date data. And these 5 trends are based not only on our experience, but also aggregated from what everybody else is saying. So we've just picked the germane points or the main drivers that we think are important. So number 1, the importance of health, hygiene, and well-being. 2, sustainability, taking responsibility for the environment, people, and destinations. 3, flexibility and the art of simplicity and frictionless travel. 4, slow down, spend more on meaningful experiences with people that matter. And 5, make up for lost time by being adventurous and perhaps learn something. And because we work in hospitality and we always like to give something extra to our guests, a bonus point, assisted travel. Travel agents are back in fashion because frankly, well, we all need a little bit of help. But before we dive in, let's take a step back in time to a more optimistic period, a period of relative peace when tourism to Japan was growing in leaps and bounds. Tokyo 2020 was just rising on the horizon. And the government outlined an ambitious plan to attract 60 million visitors by 2030. So let's look at the hierarchy of luxury travel needs. This is adapted from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which models the 5 tiers of human needs, where needs in the lower tiers have to be satisfied before individuals can attend to the needs higher up. The hierarchy of luxury travel needs was validated by luxury travel leaders at the Connections Luxury 2016 event and presented by Amadeus in its Shaping the Future of Luxury Traveler Tribes 2030 report. In it, it stated that it's no longer enough to understand what luxury means to a particular traveler. It's about knowing what luxury means to that traveler right now. And Ian Yeoman, a futurologist, understood that as consumers and markets mature, materialism is less important, while time and enrichment are. This is important in European and American markets. And from Maslow's perspective, it's about self-actualization. So even in those days, the hospitality and travel industry understood the needs of the luxury traveler had already been evolving into something more meaningful, more experiential, whether it's authenticity or indulgence, more personal in terms of service or product, more exclusive or just more private. These fundamental needs have not necessarily changed with the pandemic. They may be even more important now, but whilst they were broad in scope before, these are now crystallizing to a clearer and more defined set of principles that look as if they're here to stay. With rising vaccination rates and vaccines that work, and with Omicron being considered a milder and less lethal variant, travelers are again looking beyond their home region and want to explore the world again. Expedia's Q4 2021 Travel Trends Recovery Report confirms the consistent demand for long-haul destination. Travelers will continue to adapt their travel behaviors and preferences as the landscape changes. And with Reuters reporting a 700% increase in searches for flights to America on BA's website after the US announced its easing of travel restrictions from next month, it seems travel, and even long-haul travel, is firmly back on the agenda. So how has travel changed? What should we expect? We achieved a decade's worth of innovation in just 1 year, but what now? What does the future hold? Hilton, in their 2020 report, Emerging Trends in the Redefined Traveler, stated it well. The pandemic may have changed travel, but what's even more important is recognizing that the pandemic changed people. It changed the way people live day to day, their priorities and their passion points. Hilton summarized the profile of the 2020 traveler like this. Amid chaos, people found efficiencies. People have embraced efficiencies in many aspects of life. Zoom, anyone? And will be looking for similar conveniences in their travels, like contactless check-in, check-out, digital keys. Overall focus on wellness will go beyond the gym. With a reimagined workplace and new routines and habits in place, travelers will be looking for more grounding and balance in travel schedules. Nurturing new and existing passions means more refined tastes and preferences. So new and refreshed hobbies are leading to more informed, sophisticated travelers. People are expected to pack their passions, driving demand for new trends in fitness, culinary options, and unique travel experiences. And a new sense of caring has emerged and is expected to strengthen. The pandemic separated families and friends, which is leading to a prioritization of reunion and reconnection travel in 2020. Beyond their inner circles, travelers are expected to care more about sustainability and community efforts, and are looking to remain loyal to brands, companies, and organizations that align with their values. So psychological well-being is anticipated to be restored in 2022, and travel will play an integral role. As travelers look to prioritize the meaning and purpose of life, they will turn to companies like Hilton to provide safe spaces that help them achieve balance and growth they crave and have been missing during the past 2 years. The traveler may have changed, but the benefit of travel remains the same: increased emotional health and wellness. And after a tough 2 years, I think we all agree that's something we all need. So let's look at our 5 key trends in a bit more detail. 1, the importance of health and body and well-being, health and well-being in mind as well as body, excuse me. As we head into a new way of living, wellness focus spans beyond the gym and exercise, and there'll be a continued emphasis on holistic wellness and transformational travel. International travelers are looking to spend more on traveling for well-being and favoring nature destinations after too much time stuck at home. Accor's Northern Europe Travel Trends Report tells us that the recuperative role travel plays in our lives was clearly demonstrated by the 67% of those surveyed by Accor who felt being somewhere different enables me to clear my head and restore some order in my life, while 66% agreed that one of my biggest priorities when going on holiday is boosting my mental well-being and leaving my stresses behind. And this isn't restricted just to terra firma, to land, but relevant to the entire travel journey. Delta Airlines, for example, plans to offer custom Peloton relaxation, meditation, and stretching classes on planes. And they announced in November that the partnership aims to help passengers relax on their flights with sessions lasting 5 to 20 minutes taught by some of the fitness apps' popular instructors. That should be interesting to see on a plane. And not to be outdone, Singapore Airlines announced a new partnership with Golden Door, bringing the top spa resorts wellness retreat experience to the skies. From January 2022, flyers aboard the Los Angeles to Singapore route can view relaxing in-flight meditation videos, take exercise courses, choose from new gourmet menus, and even participate in sleep education courses during their 17-hour flight. Golden Door's goal, according to their COO, Kathy Van Ness, is to affect every single person inside that plane in a positive way. Our view: while luxury hospitality brands traditionally cater to all these needs, whether through gym facilities, healthy eating options, or wellness experience, these ideas can be taken much further, bearing in mind the evolved behavioral drivers outlined in this and other sections to follow. For example, by improved programming, the software on arrival and during the stay, better use of technology, personalization, local community integration, mental well-being, and so on and so forth. 2, sustainability and taking responsibility. Travelers' growing preference and awareness for responsible and sustainable travel is set to continue, increasing in 2022. Expedia tells us that 59% of consumers remain willing to pay more for sustainable travel options, while half will take over-tourism into account when selecting a vacation destination. Green mapping, as coined by Wunderman Thompson in their Future 100 report, is one such strand, and one that sees eco-conscious travelers opting for planet-first options and looking to brands for sustainable choices. Some examples of these are Google's worldwide flight searches now come with emissions estimates, while hotel listings now feature sustainability credentials and eco certifications. Small Luxury Hotels of the World launched its new Considerate collection in October 2021. Working with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, the brand has selected the hotels in the collection for their exceptional commitment to sustainability, such as increasing local biodiversity or improving the well-being of local communities. And for upscale US travelers, Wild Nectar Immersive Travel Collection launched in autumn 2021 with the goal of providing environmentally positive, luxurious trips. It's created a unique eco score to aid destination decision-making based on factors like conservation, emissions, and the betterment of local communities. So you can see a pattern emerging. Transportation accounts for 24% of direct global CO2 emissions from fuel combustion, according to the International Energy Agency's Tracking Transport 2020 report. So growing awareness of this impact is leading travel companies to redesign their offerings with more planet-first options. The Times and the Sunday Times also imagines a more sustainable future with the end of over-tourism, with leaders considering the value of mass tourism, with Venice, which had an estimated 25 million visitors in 2019, introducing a long-threatened park-style entry fee of up to $9 or $12, $13 this summer. Amsterdam City Hall said, "We don't want to go back to what we saw before the pandemic." And Kyoto has a similar problem that needs solving, and visitors would prefer it. A more sustainable future needs a shift from a business model based only on profit to one where social and environmental concerns have equal precedence, the triple bottom line framework. The hiatus formed by the pandemic has given everyone the opportunity to consider their direction, but COP26 and the resulting Glasgow Declaration last year has really underscored the urgency. So a more sustainable, our view is, a more sustainable, I think I've just read that bit. The triple bottom line for your consideration. Our view, brands should actively seek to improve their sustainability to attract the increasingly growing group of eco-conscious tourists. Not only will this speak to purpose-driven travelers, but it will also help reduce choice fatigue. Sustainability should extend beyond reducing the refreshing of bed linen to more tangible actions across the whole guest experience journey. And for example, a commitment to future net zero operations, visible support of local communities they inhabit. Daniel Skeldam, the CEO of Hoteres Group, says a very positive trend we've seen throughout the pandemic is that travelers are increasingly eco-conscious, meaning they do their homework on brands to make sure they align with their personal values. And Accord's report tells us that most of these planning to take to travel, looking at flexibility in the art of simplicity and frictionless travel now. Accord's Northern European Travel Trends report tells us that most of these planning to travel are waiting to book trips until close to their travel dates to ensure they have the latest information on travel policies and spikes in infection rates at their destinations. Booking flexibility and high sanitary standards, of course, top the list of what Europeans expect as a must-have in 2022 and beyond. Of the top 10 changes travelers want to see post-pandemic, as identified by Accor, more than half relate to flexibility, simplicity, and clarity, and the idea of frictionless travel. Clearer health and sanitary standards, flexibility on changes to bookings, clearer cancellation policies, contactless payment options, fewer people, increase in hotel technology, less interaction with other tourists, less air travel, more booking online, and ways of tipping and paying without cash. So what does a frictionless journey look like? Well, they might start with self-service backdrops, which eliminate the need to join a check-in queue. In Norway's 44 airports, for example, passengers check in online and receive via their mobile phones a barcode that they scan at the bag drop to print their luggage tag. And that's the beginning of a technological evolution accelerated by the pandemic, according to this Times. And that's not all. According to Travel Trek, the next big step is into biometric contactless solutions that will allow us to move through terminals without showing documents. It works like this. You take a selfie on your mobile and you upload it to a facial recognition platform such as CETA Smart Path, which then links to your passport, allowing you to fast track through airports just by looking at cameras. And that's not all. According to travel tech giant Amadeus, imagine this. When you board a flight, a message is automatically sent to your hotel. The hotel automatically checks you in and a digital key is dispatched to you. When you arrive, you can skip the hotel front desk and head straight to your room. At this point, midway through our points, let's take a quick detour to a case study for One and Only. This is our work that looks at some of these ideas in practice with One and Only in China. The challenge that One and Only Resorts has in China is that it has no hotel there. So it's completely reliant on outbound trade. And when we started, it had virtually no brand recognition in the country. A similar situation, we think, for many Japanese hotel brands outside of Japan. So for One and Only Resorts, we created a bespoke digital and social media platform that includes all stages of the guest journey, from discovery to booking to planning, to an on-resort experience and customer services, all in Chinese, making use of local super app systems. And this is, the opposite of what they do traditionally as quite a high-touch luxury stroke ultra luxury resort offer. They embrace digital as a way to add convenience and this idea of frictionless travel to the needs of their growing number of guests from China. One of the things we did was a mini program, and that sits within the WeChat, the social media super app ecosystem. And what we did was to try and recreate the physical brand experience and put it in the hands and the pockets of would-be travelers, which allows them to discover destinations, browse rooms, amenities, interviews with local people, flora, the fauna, the food, activities, and then book them directly with the resort or from their phone, wherever they happen to be in the world. We create interactive games to drive our community, to give them light relief from months locked down at home and inspiring their dreams of travel again. And we created campaigns like this world's first digital advent calendar for WeChat, which over a 30-day period, people could unlock content and games and prizes. And the results, I think, speak for themselves. 3 to 4 million impressions, 276% increase in followers, and so on and so forth. We work very hard to create all kinds of brand partnerships to leverage communities of like-minded customers to build ours. So because One and Only wasn't known very well, we work with other famous brands, like Paul Smith, like Globetrotter, like Emirates, to try and then leverage those communities and bring them into the One and Only community as well. And then we created a WeChat activity calendar. So right within the WeChat ecosystem through the One and Only channel, would-be visitors can see what's happening at any resort in China every week, updated, and they can book it directly from their social media and ask questions of the concierge. And then it also functions as a communications device between local hotels' front desks and the guests, without the hotels having to have permanent and expensive Chinese guest liaisons in purpose. This could all be run through a central location on a 24/7 basis as well. And of course, no hotel marketing or communications will be complete without the dreaded influencer activation. But we've had a lot of fun with this over the years. And a travel blogger, in fact, recently wrote again about her personal experiences at Emirates' one and only Wogan Valley, recapping her stargazing experience and looking forward to travel again. And she paid for this trip out of her own pocket. So when a KOL not only pays for her own trip, but writes about it twice, reminiscing, we know that our brand must be doing something right. And a snapshot of our achievements over a couple of year period just before the pandemic, 2017 to 2019, and the work that was done to try and grow the community and to build the brand awareness in the world's biggest outbound travel market. Right, back to the key trends. Number 4, slow down, spend more on meaningful experiences with people that matter. So Accor once again reveals that people intend to spend 39% on travel and 39% more on travel than they did in 2019, with plans for 3 to 4 trips a year. More than 2/3 of Americans, according to Expedia, 68% are planning to go big on their next trip, and many are looking at far-flung international destinations in Europe and Asia. 41% of the respondents are seeking excitement and exhilaration and the feeling that they have made the most out of their trip. The study also found that 40% of US travelers are more willing to treat themselves and spend money on their next trip, from indulging in luxurious experiences to upgrading rooms or flights to visiting a bucket list destination like Japan. 2022 will all be about splurging on the things that make a trip go from good to great. How we travel, and for whatever reason, however, will most certainly be slower and longer. And after a stop-start year for everyone, Forbes agrees that there is more interest in traveling less, but taking more time out when you do. And Skift, the travel intelligence platform, takes this further. The world is on the move, aided by digitization, remote work, and fierce competition for skilled labor, all of which presents enormous growth opportunities for the travel industry. McKinsey tells us that satisfaction and uniqueness are becoming increasingly important in making travel choices. Loyalty is now formed around good experiences, unique offerings, or services that make the trip memorable or more convenient instead of being driven purely by points or discounts. And actually, Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, I think lives now traveling from one Airbnb to the other. Great PR, but also, I think, a lifestyle choice. So our view, hotels and destinations should work on providing more purpose-driven itinerary, with unique cultural experiences for travelers to treat themselves to, that allow themselves to immerse themselves in local community, give back, or learn something new, particularly for the children, and in some cases, stay longer, more easily, combining work and leisure for extended periods of time. Right, so make up for lost time by being adventurous. Accor reveals that people intend to spend 39% more on travel in 2022 than they did in 2019, and with plans for 3 to 4 trips a year. According to Forbes' 2022 Travel Trends Report, it will be those once-in-a-lifetime trips that have the big draw. The events of the pandemic have made travelers all the more appreciative of being able to travel freely when they can. Travelers missed out on key milestone moments last year, so in a bid to make up for lost time, we'll see once-in-a-lifetime trips take on more importance. People want to put in the miles to reconnect, and we'll see big reunion trips with loved ones as people reevaluate what's important. Virtuoso experts agreed that 2022 will be the year of once-in-a-lifetime trips. Tapping into their advisors, specializing in exclusive excursions, Virtuoso found that 76% have seen a recent increase in ultra-luxury travel, with safaris, islands, international city destinations, and ocean cruises as the preferred experience. And the uptick in high-end travel is a result of pent-up demand and expanded financial needs, i.e. people have savings. And city travel is back. After more than 2 years of avoiding urban centers, travelers are eager to return to their favorite metropolis and swan dive into the sights, sights and sounds of a city not their own. Hotel searches on Expedia jumped 62% for London and 51% for Paris since January 1st. And Four Seasons reported an 80% increase in its bookings in Paris, London, and New York from December to Jan. According to the Financial Times, so looking at our bonus point, the return of assisted travel, good news for us in the industry. According to the Financial Times, travel agents are one of travel's bright hopes for 2022. Over the past 2 decades, advances in technology have made it increasingly easy to book your own flights, hotels, car rental, and tours online. And then came the pandemic and a raft of ever-changing travel restrictions, testing requirements, and last-minute cancellations. Travel is more complicated than it's been in a generation. And so a helping hand, that of an expert travel agent, is suddenly at a premium once more. Virtuoso says it saw the number of people seeking travel advisor grow 50% in 2021 compared with the previous year. And Steps Travel reports seeing the proportion of new clients rise over the past 6 months to 65% of all inquiries. And clients want to speak with someone to help them navigate the ever-changing confusion of rules. This is reaffirmed by the Times. In 2019, research by Kayak revealed that 47% of us had not visited travel agents for at least 10 years. The mass repatriation in March 2020 was a stark reminder that tour operators will be there for you if something goes wrong and you need to get home quickly and safely. So let's look at the Japan advantage. Japan and Australia, as a matter of fact, ranked highly for destination competitiveness before the pandemic. They both mounted strong responses to COVID-19, but others reported even fewer cases. In theory, this could nudge tourists towards those other Asia-Pacific destinations, such as Vietnam and Thailand, that have had very few cases by global comparison. Health and safety could drive travel bookings after the pandemic. The quality of the health response during the pandemic could impact a destination's competitiveness. On the other hand, when compared to other countries in the world, Japan has been successful in controlling the pandemic, but they also have a long history as top destinations given their cultural and natural assets. By marketing themselves as health aware, given their strong underlying health and hygiene infrastructure, as well as destinations offering unique cultural and nature-related experience, they'll likely retain their competitive edge. The Development Bank of Japan and the Japan Travel Bureau Foundation conducted an online survey in June of would-be travelers in 12 countries to gauge how the coronavirus is affecting tourism. And when asked about travel intentions to travel abroad after the pandemic, 82% of respondents expressed a desire to head overseas. Japan topped the list of post-corona travel destinations, with 46% of people saying they wanted to visit. South Korea was second most popular at 22%, followed by Taiwan at third. And here you can see quite clearly how strong Japan's attraction is, though we should probably take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt as well, because this was commissioned by the Development Bank of Japan itself. But actually, I think this is also held up by other research that we're seeing, particularly in markets like China. When we're looking at Europe, Western visitors and where they want to go most, survey participants who chose Japan pointed to a number of factors in their decision. Leading the list was the quality of food in Japan at 43%, followed by those having visited at least once before for 30% and wanting to come back. Cleanliness at 36%, high degree of public safety at 33%. But Japan received low marks as a foreign language friendly country. I don't think this is new news, but it's certainly something that we can work to correct through the use and adaptation of technology, for example. And few respondents are aware of the low number of COVID-19 cases compared to other popular tourist destinations. For those wanting to go to Japan, 47% chose Tokyo as the place they wanted to most visit, and Hokkaido was the second most popular destination, followed by Kansai. Yokohama and Hakone, that are near Tokyo, also ranked high. So let's look at some regional points of view. I think the interesting thing about these trends, as they were, or these expressions of traveler behavior, is that they're common to all humans, wherever they are in the world, but across different regions and different cultures, there are, of course, certain nuances that we need to pay attention to. In North America and the US, the focus really is on fun and relaxing and finding happiness and escaping stress. They want to spend time with loved ones, enjoying nature, going to new places and getting away from the crowds. They value scenic beauty, warm weather, outdoor activities, road trips, national parks, cuisine, and food experiences. Middle East and North Africa, this was interesting and unexpected in our research. We thought that business travel was going to be more or less dead, at least for the foreseeable future, but not in the Middle East. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council report published this year, Middle East spending is set to rise by 49% on business, much stronger than leisure. And in terms of business travel, the report ranks the Middle East first, followed by Europe and Africa, Asia Pacific, and the Americas last. So there's a growing opportunity to entice business travelers and to add who also might want to add a leisure portion to their business trip or some remote working. And they're traveling more as couples and families, which never used to be the case. So how to cater the needs of these specific groups of individuals would be key to attracting these customers. And this is where, even though our communications might be driven by those underlying changes in behavior and trends for each market, we then have to adjust our communications, of course, based on the regional nuances. The UAE remains one of the most COVID secure countries, so this is really, really important to them, high standards of hygiene and safety, and the safety of their trips at every stage, which of course Japan is well placed to offer. So looking at the UK and Europe, travelers are spending about 20% more on packages compared to pre-pandemic levels. And there's been a growth in disposable income from travelers eating out and traveling less than before, and many have saved up for luxury accommodations and experiences. The European Travel Commission highlights that Europeans with short-term travel plans exhibit a stronger preference for nature-based or coastal destinations. Right, Asia Pacific. According to American Express research, 87% of respondents in India and 68% in Australia are interested in taking extended trips to experience new destinations. 70% are interested in cultural immersion, 43% in entertainment events, 38% in cultural events. In Asia Pacific, nature-related attractions, bookings on Ctrip, which is China's largest OTA, have been on the rise since 2019 anyway, but this has been supported by an upswelling of national park ticket bookings on the platform between 2020 and 2021. Nature-related attractions increased by 66% compared to 2019, and by 260% compared to the first half of 2020. Right, I think we're going to do a little bit of a short focus on China's Tourism Academy. I think we're almost there. I'm very conscious of the time, so I'll wrap this up after this rather than go into things that we can do digitally now, because a lot of these things are big infrastructural changes and commitments that the industry will have to take. But again, as I said, we will be sharing this report in full in a digestible, consumable format via PDF. And everything that we've missed here will be available later on. But China is an important market. It's right on your doorstep. They know Japan. They have an appreciation for Japanese hospitality brands, unlike the West. The interesting thing is that when people search for holidays to Japan, in Europe, UK, and the US, they search for areas to stay. For example, if they're coming to Tokyo, they'll look at Shinjuku or Shibuya or Ginza. That's the discussion online. That's what they're talking about. And the recommendations are whereabouts in Tokyo you should stay as your base. And then the hotels they choose are almost secondary to that based on the area they want to stay. And inevitably, they tend to lean towards Western brands that they know and that they recognize. So I think the opportunity for Japanese hospitality brands is to try and A, own the destinations they occupy, but B, also then on the back of that, introduce their brands to the public because they're very open to new experiences. They just don't know what's available really, unless they're shopping by price or through their travel agency. Whereas in China, when you look online and see what they're talking about, the recommendations and referrals are about existing hotel brands, whether it's Hoshinoya or Mitsui or any of these things. They all have quite good brand recognition and awareness. But when you look a little bit deeper, there's not enough communications being done by hotels directly to Chinese consumers. And so we feel that an opportunity is being missed, particularly as we know that China, for all the geopolitical noise that's going on, the people love coming to Japan. They absolutely love it. And especially now, post Beijing Winter Olympics, we think that Hokkaido is going to be incredibly popular, even more so than it already is. So anyway, travel is the second most popular leisure activities. They're taking longer holidays. They're interested in more active pursuits, more cultural experiences. They're increasingly sophisticated. And you can see here that, a year ago, when we were looking at this in 2020, thinking that the recovery was going to be in 2021, Japan was top. But after 2 years of pandemic and lockdowns after lockdown after lockdown, I think most people, what they really want to do is to get away to an island and just escape from the cities that they live in. But, you know, positively, Japan is still ranking and scoring really, really high, which is good news. And there is an opportunity there for Japanese hospitality brands to act on now to win that market share as it comes into the country. Top activities are still shopping, as you can imagine. Interestingly, 67% of respondents gather information about new brands through social media, making it the top source of information above e-commerce platforms and OTAs and above friend recommendations. So it really becomes an important tool in trying to win the audience over there. There is this section on what we can do now. I'll share that with you later, but I think probably this is a good place to stop, isn't it? I've carried on a little bit longer than I wanted to. I'm sorry we got a bit more excited when we were preparing this information. And actually, believe it or not, we've cut a lot of stuff out. So forgive me for carrying on for so long. Thank you very much for listening and your indulgence. And I will hand over back to Nana-san and Yamamoto-san and Mizuki-san.
Thank you so much, Andrew. That was fantastic. 冒頭でも私の方で説明させていただいたんですけれども、今日のこのアンドリューさんの、プレゼンなんですけれども、ちょっと英語が分かりにくい、もうちょっと知りたいという方のために、後日、これを皆さんのプレゼンをもう少し分かりやすくポイントをつかんだものを皆さんとご共有していただけるということなので、ご参加していただいた方たちには、後日、岩本さん、そうですよね、録画しているものと、あと、この、ごめんなさい、そのプレゼンなどを、どこでダウンロードできるとか、どこで配信するなどの情報を皆さんとご共有させていただきたいと思います。
はい、
それではですね。
資料に関しては皆様にメールで送らせていただきまして、でこの動画に関しては太郎が YouTube チャンネル持っていますので、そちらでご紹介をさせていただきたいと思います。
はい。 なんか今日いろいろもうコンテンツがたくさんあって、で特にこの中のその5つのキートレンドっていうところがやっぱり、今年になった私たちが始めたウェビナーの中でも ILTM 関連からのレポートも出てきたんですけれども、例の SDG であったり、その、ヘルスコンシャス、そのウェルネスであったり、そしてまた今日面白いなと思ったのが、そのフレキシブルな旅行ということで、それはまあ、チケットをすぐ変更できたりとか、結構そこら辺、ルースにいろいろやってくださるというふうなところがあったり、あと皆さんと面と向かっていろいろやらなくていいような受け答えができる。そしてまあ4番で私面白いなと思ったのは特にスローダウン、スペンドモア。ゆっくりした旅行を。ただ、皆さんの使う金額というのは消費量が高いかということなんで、やっぱり皆さん結局コロナの後、ロストタイムがいろいろ出てきたので、まあこれリベンジツーリズムですよね。もうこれで、さてみんなやっとこれで使えるようになったので、せーのという感じで、これから日本が、まあ、オープンしたときに、やっぱりそういう方たちの期待感というのはものすごい高いような気がしました。皆さんいかがでしたか？
そうですね、その皆さんいろいろ聞かせていただくと、
はい、
なんかまだピンときてないんですけど、同じスローダウンでスペンドモアで、本当にそのどんどん滞在期間が長くなって、お金をもっと使うようになるっていうのを共通言語のようにおっしゃるので、これやっぱり一つのトレンドなのかなと思いました。逆に言うと、もしかしたら施設側というか、提供する側が、ちゃんと長い滞在に応えられるコンテンツがないといけないのかななんていうところも感じてはいました。はい。
We're reiterating some of the things that you discussed with us today. And we thought it was an interesting point. For example, that you spoke about slow down, spend more, meaning that perhaps like some of the things that we have been doing all over the world is staycation or private residences, finding new ways for people to stay somewhere for a longer period of time. But does that mean that we need to develop more content or experiences accordingly as well?
I think so. I think we need to tell people that, you know, they're welcome for longer, have more cultural experiences and programs. I think when people are going to travel, they're going to travel less. But when they do travel, they're going to travel more, travel longer and spend more while they're doing it. So if they travel with their families, then, you know, we need to keep them entertained, keep them busy. So there's a lot around. Some of the bigger specialist travel agencies in the UK, for example, are doing what they call Edu Vacations, where they're doing holidays that are combined with educational experiences for the whole family, but primarily the children as well. And somewhere like Japan is just perfect for that, from all kinds of outdoor pursuits to culinary pursuits to culture and history. I mean, you know, the ability to keep children occupied, but also actually teach them something, which is what parents are also looking for during the trips, I think would be interesting in terms of possible programming. And for the younger generation who are unattached, then yes, you know, I think the possibility of being able to travel and live somewhere for a month or two and work from there is perfectly possible. And, you know, I have many friends of mine from Hong Kong, for example, who come to Japan often and spend a month or two here because they can and because they love the country. But, you know, what we want to do is to get them to stay in the hospitality brands as opposed to, say, in flats or renting flats or houses. So I think it's about creating that platform for them to do so.
また今、アンドリューさんのおっしゃられた中で結構キーワード的なのが、イギリスの方ではこういう、ビスポークの、ラグジュアリーエージェンシーの方の中で、間で今、流行っているキーワードというのが、エッツィートラベルと言われる、エッツィーって皆さんご存知かもしれないんですけど、手作りのものをいろいろ売れる場所があるんですね。で、そういうふうな手作り感のある教育性の高い文化的な、そういうふうな体験を皆さん探しているんじゃないか、そういうのをいろいろ皆さん作り上げたりしているということでした。まあ結構そういうのも面白いトレンドなのかなと。 やっぱり長期滞在ということがありますので、お子さん、今、先ほどのエツィプランは、多分お子さん、小さなお子さんがいる方たちだと思うんですけれども、その中でも、皆さんご存知のデジタルノーマドと言われるような方たち、こういうシェアオフィスだったり、シェアリビングスペースみたいな感じで、長期的に別の場所で滞在するという方たちのライフスタイルも、これから増えてくるんじゃないかとは思われます。はい。で、ちょっともうお時間がないくなってきましたよね。で、こういうふうな形で、これから私たちも毎回、世界中のラグジュアリートレベルに関係した、業界トップの方たちをいろいろお招きしてお話をお伺いできればと思っております。次回4月6日になりますけれども、こちらは第2弾として、ラグジュアリークの間の直美さんを迎えて、日本のそのビスポークエージェンシーがどういうことをなさっているかというふうなお話をはじめお伺いしたいと思っております。
この次回の講師の真野さんっていうのはもともと何やってらっしゃった方だったんでしたっけ？
そうですね。彼女は一番初めに日本の方で多分クリス・サイシャリーというビスポークのエージェンシーの、フランチャイズというか、こちらの方のレップをしてらっしゃって、それで独立されて、もう15年以上ですか、ご自分の、ブランドとご自分の会社で、こういうふうなラグジュアリー旅行の後、プランナーとコンサルなどもなさってます。自治体などのコンサルなどもなさってますね。そういうのまた面白いお話がお伺いできるんじゃないかなとは思っております。で、あと、付け足すと、最後にはアンドリューさんの今日のお話もそうなんですけれども、これから先、ホテレスの方でちょっと特集記事を組んだりというのも今考えておりますので、そちらの方ではもっと、さらに今のようなお話をベースにケーススタディであったり、そういうものも交えてお話が、今の本当にトレンドであったり、今マーケティングっていうのはどういうふうになっているかなどのお話をお伺いできると思います。では。
はい。ありがとうございます。
Anything else you would like to add, Mr. Andrew?
No, thank you very much. I'm sorry for carrying on for so long. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to get in touch, send an email. If we can help, we will happily help. We're over here in London. We have access to some information maybe that you don't in Japan. So we're very happy to share. It's not going to cost anybody anything. And we'll be very happy to do it on a friendly basis. So please do reach out. And in terms of the articles, if I can mention that, if you have anything that you want us to research and look at for you, just please let Iwamoto-san and Nana-san know, and they'll pass it on to us, and we'll do our best to accommodate your requests.
はい、ブランディングとかマーケティングってまだ皆さん的確にどんなものなのかとお分かりにならない方もいらっしゃるかと思います。私も。それでいろいろご質問等があれば、もちろん全くコンサル料は必要ありませんので、お気軽にお尋ねくださいということでした。
では、今日は皆様ご参加ありがとうございました。またアンドリューさん、時間を作ってくれてありがとうございました。また太郎チームとして、そして私たちホテレスですね、皆様にいろいろな角度から情報提供をさせていただきたいなと思っておりますので、これからもよろしくお願いいたします。今日は皆様お時間ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。バイバイ。